Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Noxie, aka the girl on site. I hope you're good and I hope you're well. I have been so busy, and this episode is all about how I traveled across the country, 3 different cities in 3 weeks. It was insane, guys, and I'd say 1 out of the 3 trips was unplanned. And I think that's also what threw a spanner in the works. When you go into a new month and you know what your calendar looks like, you know when you're going to be out of town, you know when you're going to be away from your family, especially as a young mom. This is always difficult for me, guys. So when another trip got thrown into the mix, I was just, it is crazy. So I just want to take you through that whole experience. It was also really nice. I think sometimes I always remind myself not to take for granted the fact that I travel for work. I get to experience new things, new places, and as much as you're there for work, I always do my best to try and also gain something from that experience itself. You know, as long as I'm leaving my home, leaving my family, and I'm out and about, can I at least gain something from it as well, you know, on top of the job that needs to get done first and foremost. So yeah, let us start with our first trip and what this was. It was a company trip. The entire staff complement went along, and it is our annual strategic planning session. So in fact, I did a full episode on strategic planning. You can go onto my channel and check it out, because as long as you are in business, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a public entity like we are, whatever the case may be, guys, you need to have strategic planning. It's all for long-term sustainability. It's all about making sure that you are securing business for the future. It's all about how you align yourself with the changing times, with any challenges in the sector, in the economy, whatever the case may be. So that's trip number 1. First things first, let's go into the actual resort. We went to a boutique hotel called WT010. It is in Pretoria North, and for a Joburg girl like me, Pretoria is like a different country completely. So it was nice to come to this hotel and, you know, just be in a different side of the world. And I think what is so nice about South Africa is that you kind of don't have to go far to be thrust into a very natural environment, be in nature and stuff. This was a beautiful space. Our rooms were beautiful. The facilities were lovely as well. So I think that's what I really liked about this place. So we were here at WT010 for 2 nights and 3 days, basically, for this entire strategic planning session. And yeah, so it was the same thing each day, where we were split into groups, you know, strategizing, coming up with solutions to the problems that we're currently facing. So we would, you know, wake up, have breakfast, go straight to the conference facilities, and just literally we had a planned agenda for the whole day, the kinds of topics that we would tackle, the kind of work and activities that we would do. So that was all about WT010, guys. It was quite challenging, of course, where you know that there's a reason that you're here. There are problems that need to be solved in the organization, and I think with everything, you always hope that these conversations translate into tangible deliverables when you leave a place like this, where we spent all this time strategizing and figuring out solutions to our challenges. So let every bit of work that goes in also translate to measurable, you know, outcomes. So it was a really good session, as it usually is every year. And let's see how it goes when we try and implement everything that we came up with. Right, so that was the first trip, and it took me away from home for 3 days and 2 nights. And the very next week, there I was already off to Cape Town. And this trip was already planned in advance, so I knew, oh my goodness, I'm gonna be so tired. You know, last week it's this week it's Cape Town. And this is my usual trip to go and check on my projects, you know, see how our investments are doing. So this one, you know, I'm used to this trip by now, you know, and what I've done recently is just to limit how often I'm away from home. I squeezed this into a 1-day trip, meaning a flight in the morning and a flight in the afternoon. Let me tell you guys, it becomes so exhausting. You know, you wake up at the crack of dawn so that you can catch an early flight, especially because it's 2 hours away. That's why catching the early flight makes sense, so that you land at least at a decent hour, like 8, 9 o'clock, so that you can still, you know, do that whole rat race that I always tell you guys about, you know, going to car rental and sorting yourself out. So by the time you're actually on the road to your first destination, it's almost like 10:30, and that's why it's such a rush. You know, you're up from like 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning and you just go. So also part of this trip was obviously, of course, the usual, going from site to site, visiting each and every project. What I love about these trips and visiting my sites is just seeing the progress. It's also to verify aspects of contract management, to make sure that the claims that you're processing, the payments that you're making are going towards actual work, especially when you're based in one location and you're managing a portfolio across the country. You always have to make sure that what is on paper, what is submitted in the monthly reports, the updates, the progress pictures, you actually go and see it with your own eyes, guys. I want to tell you the kinds of nightmares that we've encountered where what was on paper was not at all what was going on the ground. So it's a very important thing to visit your projects regularly and consistently. Right, so now we're on to trip number 3, guys. This is a trip that was not planned at all. So when it came to now, just recovering from my Cape Town trip and I get to work in the new week, Wednesday, I was told that CEO can't make it to this engagement. Please go. Well, he actually asked me on his behalf to attend this event, and it was in Durban. A 2-day conference engagement hosted by SALGA, and SALGA is the South African Local Government Association. So because we work a lot with government, managing a portfolio of residential developments under the umbrella of the National Department of Human Settlements, that's why a lot of these engagements require our attendance, you know, to just engage with our stakeholders. And it's on multiple facets, guys. National department officials, provincial department officials, local government officials, you know, it's a whole mix of stakeholders. So I had to go and represent our entity at this engagement. And yeah, it was a nice change of scenery to be in Durban. So this was really, really interesting. So similar to my most trips, it's all about getting on that flight, and as soon as you land, you go straight to the venue, or you know, usually my visits are to site, but in this case, it was straight to the venue. This was my first time at the Durban International Convention Center, so it was a really nice experience to, you know, just be somewhere you've never been before. Right, so the name of this event itself was the National Urban Forum, and what this engagement served to do was bring together policy leaders and, you know, like I said, government stakeholders across all spheres of government, local, provincial, and national, to just to drive conversations around sustainable and inclusive development across, housing, services. As we know, in South Africa, we have huge challenges when it comes to water, electricity, and so on and so forth, but also safety, the social aspect when it comes to, creating inclusive and sustainable cities. We know that we also have a crime problem in South Africa. Many communities just simply do not feel safe. So this was a very, very important engagement. And in fact, it might have been a last minute trip that I was just thrown into. But then when you're sitting in that room and you are part of these conversations, it is just so thought-provoking, it is insightful, and it also gives purpose to what you do. As much as a lot of what you guys see is me on the ground and I talk about projects and I share my experiences in my career, but essentially, when you are in the construction space, what you do actually contributes to our economy. It contributes to the creation of jobs. It contributes to placing roofs over people's heads. It also contributes to creating communities where people can live safely, in harmony, and also with access to very, very important amenities that many South Africans don't have access to. So we had just, a number of panel discussions. We had a keynote address from the National Minister of Human Settlements. We also had the Minister of COCTA there. And of course, SALGA itself had its president and stakeholders also giving some talks. So day one was really, I actually was so happy to be in attendance. So as busy as it was, having to be thrust into yet another trip, another week in a row, I actually was so glad to have been in that room. Right, so that was day one of the engagement, and now it was time to go and check in. Interestingly, I was booked at a hotel all the way in Umhlanga. So anyone who's familiar with Durban would know the difference between where the ICC is and where Umhlanga is. It was about like a 20-minute drive. So I did find it a little bit strange, but it is what it is. That was my booking. So I was on another side of town, and but it was a really lovely hotel. Service was so good, check-in was so easy, and this is my favorite part of the day, where you just get to kick back, relax, unwind after waking up so early to catch that flight, landing and going straight to the venue. Now you can finally breathe. So this is day two. It is a beautiful morning in Durban, and I won't lie, when I woke up, I was a little bit confused. I thought I was in Cape Town because that's where I usually travel to, but I was in Durban, and obviously it just had to click like, where are you, But otherwise, what I always do is just I get ready and then I head down to breakfast, and thereafter I check out and I head to the venue. So breakfast first. Wow, so I really love the way that this hotel is set up. From the outside, it doesn't even look like it has this kind of, layout for the restaurant. This was so bright and beautiful and inviting. So I really enjoyed this surprise. And that's what's always so nice about going to new places you've never been to, is that you then experience something so lovely. So after such a busy day the day before, it was so nice to have my breakfast out on the patio, the beautiful Durban sea breeze blowing in the air. It was just so lovely. I really enjoyed my breakfast. Right, so with breakfast done, it is time to hit the road and head to the ICC for day 2 of the National Urban Forum. So similar to yesterday's agenda, there would be a few speeches here and there, but mostly some panel discussions. And today we also had a number of stakeholders who I also engage with quite often. So it was nice to be part of the discussion in terms of financing, infrastructure delivery, social delivery, whatever the case may be. This is an area that I'm also really passionate about when it comes to real estate investment, property investment, infrastructure investment, just the dynamic associated with viability and ensuring that you strike a good balance between the funding required to deliver, but also bearing in mind the impact thereafter socially, economically, even financially for the end user. So I love these conversations. Righty, and that is it. It is time to go home. What a busy 3 weeks it has been. And as always, with the end of a trip, like I said, even with Cape Town the previous week, when it's the end of the trip, you're always just like, wow, I'm done. I'm ready to just be at home, but you still have to do a long drive. In Durban, that was my biggest problem. The airport is so far from the city. So that was a long drive to get to King Shaka International. And then finally give back the car, head to my flight and just go home. And that's it, guys. So I hope that this was insightful for you just when it comes to juggling a very, very busy calendar, but also taking the time to get some positives out of the experiences that you are thrust into, whether it's your usual travel program like me with often going to see my projects and things, or experiences like these where, you know, the one trip was with the entire staff complement, and it was nice to just interact with everyone outside of the office, you know, just spend some time together. We did a bit of team building, and then we look at the last experience, which was also something new for me in Durban, in a different city that I don't often visit for work. It was a lovely change of scenery, but also such an important engagement that I got to be a part of. So that was me, 3 cities in 3 weeks. So exhausting, but hey, it's part of the job. Hope you enjoyed the discussion, guys. Let me call it here. Please feel free to hop into the comments if there's anything you want to know about the trips that I went on, any other things when it comes to work travel in general. I'm always happy to have the conversation. But otherwise, that's it from me. See you guys soon. Bye. Oh, I forgot to say like and subscribe. Damn it.